Good evening. Welcome back to another episode of What's Your Story? Tonight we are sitting down with Charles Godfrey, the owner of Wallingford Farm. Welcome to our show.
Thank you.
So Wallingford Farm, how long have you owned that business?
Well, we own the farm for about 30 years, but the business is probably in 20, 25 years.
Okay. So have you grown up here?
No, I was born in Salem, Mass.
Okay.
And spent most of my life in Newburyport, Mass.
Yep. So what brought you to Kennebunk?
Saved the building.
To save the... Okay.
Yeah, I was living in Portsmouth at the time, and we were restoring a building in Portsmouth, and the restoration team, found this building in Kennebunk and said that it was about to be demolished, and that it was one of the more perfect federal period buildings still left.
Yeah.
So I came up almost hoping it wasn't worth saving, so it was, and I was able to put together the money enough to buy the building.
So is that your background?
No, sales. I was with Procter & Gamble for years, and then I was also a paper broker.
Yeah.
No, it's... Again, bought it to save it, putting the garden center in there as well as the barn, which has a lot of other products, bakery, etc., to raise money to save it.
Yeah.
And most of the first years, it didn't make any money.
Yeah.
And now it's starting to make some sense, continuously being poured into the house. We're doing new roofs this year, for example.
Yeah. So tell me about growing up in Massachusetts.
Growing up,
We're flipping back.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't tell you, I grew up, played Little League Baseball, went to public high school, went to Syracuse University, and picked up a passion for antique houses when I was about 10 years old. My parents, we lived in an early federal period house. That's what I grew up in. And Newburyport was exciting because we saw a sudden shift in the town once they realized they were safe from demolition from urban renewal.
Yeah.
Urban renewal was coming in and knocking all these towns down. Once they knew that wasn't going to happen, then lots of people came in and bought property. And if you go there today, most of it's restored.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful down there. So so you fast forward, you come up here. You've been here for 25, 30 years.
Yeah, about 25, yeah.
And so what makes your day when you step into the garden center or your office? I mean, it's such a wonderful, kind of tranquil property. So what do you think about when you're walking through the pumpkins?
What needs to be done next?
Okay. Getting rid of mice? No.
Mice, yeah. Well, we have that. What's chipmunks that drive us crazy? Okay. And it's always the squirrels. And I recall we bring in all these pumpkins. We support local growers.
Yeah.
We have 2 farmers, but we also buy from the Amish.
Okay.
And they'll bring in big pumpkins, and there'll be a renegade squirrel that'll take a bite out of a big pumpkin, which means now we can't sell it.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's marking that one for himself.
Right. Anyway.
Or herself.
Yeah.
That's great. So I think about like when I go over there and you're just like kind of walking through and poking around at the flowers and, so there's a lot of inspiration. I think a lot of people go there for that.
Well, it's interesting because we have what we call categories. And we're reviewing now every category on how to improve it.
Yeah.
And when we first started with the farm, it was so overgrown with cedar trees. But we realized that we should put flower fields since we're not going to be growing vegetables. And they get better at it all the time. So most of the property, they have like a big sunflower field.
Yeah.
Most of the property is now under flowers.
Okay.
Which is an opportunity that we've never really executed.
Yeah.
But we will this year. We've always grown flowers, but we're really going to
Yeah.
push them this year with people.
That's so great. And I'll tell you, since the big box stores,
Yeah.
they've come along, and a lot of the flower, the flower stores, the florist shops, they close. And when I've had either a special occasion or an immediate need for flowers, like a funeral service or something
Yeah.
like that, it's really hard to find places.
I agree. We face that all the time.
Yeah.
In fact, we had a meeting this morning where we're talking about what we're trying to do is buy quality product that's a product that people are interested in buying on a regular basis.
Yeah.
That the box stores, mass market don't do,
Right.
such as flowers.
Yep.
But I have seen a number of florists go out of business, and I understand there are some good ones still around here.
Yeah.
But anyway, we focus on the biggest success story in the last year was the bakery.
Yeah.
All right, with all the pies that we sold and more product. But each category is reviewed on how to improve it.
Wow. So you're like manning all kinds of different things. You've got employees. Do you have people who volunteer for you, or
Not much.
yeah, not
We grab them if they do, but
okay. I know the feeling.
I know.
We have wonderful volunteers here.
I
So when
know.
everyone says,
I know you
"I'd
do.
like to X, Y, Z," yeah.
Yes.
So you have a staff of how many?
Well, it changes. During the winter, we'll have 4 or 5 people,
Okay.
and they do all the planning. Starting in April, March and April, it starts to build. We'll reach a peak of about 20
Okay.
people. Most of them are part-time.
Yep.
And we have a very good staff. They're very good.
Very positive. Always positive.
Well, yeah, that's, if I might bring up the subject of what we call harmony of employees, which
Okay.
is we make a very concerted effort for morale. And I had been with Procter & Gamble, who has that in their company, and they're masters at it. But what's involved is the higher the morale, the higher the productivity. So you work towards high morale, and the way you get high morale is by eliminating the causes of low morale. You cannot pay people to have high morale. So we eliminate the causes, and many times it's like helping them out. Like, for example, we love hiring retirees. They do something very strange. They do things like show up on time.
hey, did you know
do
that
it-
I was retiring by
What?
No, I'm just kidding.
So the second group we really like hiring are mothers.
Yep.
The hardest working part of the whole U.S. population is generally mothers. I've witnessed that. And the third group we look at, and we have usually 3 or 4 all the time, are autistic boys, excellent workers. And the fourth group is anybody that walks in that's really qualified. It's often a college student,
Okay.
but most of them are part-time.
Yeah.
And they're all good. When we interview them, we ask questions that reveal their character, and
Okay.
we hire on character
That's
and
great.
work ethic.
Yeah.
They don't, not how many trophies they have or how many degrees they have, and we get a lot of really good people.
That's awesome. So does your staff do your baking?
Yeah, it's a bakery led by a woman named Catherine.
Okay.
Prior to her coming, the year before she came, we sold 400 pies. Last year, she sold 3,500. I probably shouldn't be saying that, okay? But, we handle our own pies.
Do you have a favorite?
Pie?
Yeah.
Gee, I don't know.
I guess it
Blueberry,
depends on
probably.
the day.
Well, if I want something, and I try to watch it, but if I want something, she usually points me to the 50 off section.
Okay.
So I get to pick from there.
I love it. Oh, that's great. Wow.
And the other thing I want to comment is how the store keeps changing. Like the big project this year, we're going through the category reviews, and each category gets new product every year. But the big one this year is the upper barn, which is a 1760 barn, and it's been restored, and it's got beautiful colors. I don't know if you've ever been there, Mary Lou. That's going to be converted this late summer to a Christmas barn
Okay.
that's going to be open
Oh,
all year.
wonderful.
Okay. And so we've been doing a research on that. So you'll be able to come in July and buy Christmas.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, I don't think we'll get it ready until probably August or September, but
Wow.
the following year,
Yeah.
it'll start in April.
And you got Prelude to kind of help launch
Oh,
it
yeah,
off.
yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
that's
yeah.
really
we
great.
have, we do.
I remember coming and walking through at one point to do a story. This was a few years ago. We were going to do stories. It probably was during the pandemic. And sitting in front of a stove.
We have 2 stoves, yeah.
Yeah. So is that the area you're talking
Well,
about?
the upper barn.
Okay.
The lower barn is where most of the commercial activity goes on, but the upper barn, often we rent it out for events, but
Yep.
it's got a beautiful color
Yep.
on. We painted certain cabinetry, a color we found in the house, an original color in the house. But that's the big project that they all put there.
Wow.
Not to mention their own responsibilities of their own sections.
Yeah.
The other thing we do so many things, and of course the staff is a great wealth of suggestions. Since we have this, one of the women said to me one day, Charles, you have such a background on you're interested in historic buildings. Why do we not have the garden crew? We have 2 garden crews that go out gardening. Focus on historic houses. So we have that.
Wow.
So now if you have an historic house and you call us, we can actually tell you by looking at the property and maybe a little bit of testing what was once there. Or what it would have looked like, okay?
Yeah.
So that's just another thing.
Is there a cost to that if somebody...
No, we do site reviews. If they want us, to do the work, the cost is in that. But if they want us just to look at the property, there would be a consulting fee for that. But and of course,
that's really
Kennebunkport
special.
particularly is rich in historic houses, as well as Kennebunk.
Yep, both. So where do you do your research?
I mean, for example, historic houses. Oh, the web, the internet. Also, I know I've done it in libraries. Also, for example, I'll go to houses, visit like Rope's Mansion in Salem. I went one time, having grown up as a boy there, to look at how they handled it. There are beautiful gardens for each period: Victorian gardens, Federal period gardens, early colonial gardens. And it's interesting how they changed. Like the colonial gardens, the period from the late 1600s into the early first half of the 1700s, their gardens were very plain. They had herb gardens, and not a lot of flower gardens, but they have herb gardens and vegetable gardens in front of the house. All right. Now, as we get more affluent and got into more Georgian and Federal period architecture, now they started a thing called landscaping and lawns. And there were no lawns in the colonial period. But now they started with that and flower gardens. And so I have to look it up, and I know where to look it. I know
That's
people
great.
from museums that I can contact and find out.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I was at one year I was at Williamsburg, and I talked to them, and then I went over to Jefferson's house in Monticello and talked to the head gardener, and he told me, and it was interesting because the concepts were the same as New England, only different plants.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, that's so great. So it's good to know because we have people that will come in here, and just nice to know of another resource in the community.
Yes.
So, people will come in here. They might have just bought a house, they want to find out who lived there. They want all of that nice information. We have some. We also send people to the Historical Society or to the Brick Store Museum. But, when it comes to restoration, and if people really want to keep it, to its core, then, good to know that.
Well, I've walked through people's houses, not on a regular basis, in which I said, don't touch this, save this.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about historic houses is just as an observation on my part, the more they remove, the lower they value the house. So they'll come in. So I've had situations where they want to gut it. Big mistake.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to preserve what the interior is. When our colonial and 19th century people built their houses, they built it with balance.
Okay.
All right, the balance was important in both inside and outside. So when someone comes in not knowing this, thinking they're improving it, they rip out the balance. It's just not the same. It doesn't have the same feel.
Yeah, yeah.
So I've also gotten in a little trouble telling them what they didn't want to hear.
Yeah. Do you have family, Charles?
Well, yeah, I have.
I've never asked you that question.
Right, I do. I have 3 children. One is in Milford, New Hampshire, as an accountant. The second one is in Salem. I used to work for Hewlett Packard, but she stays mostly home now. She have 3 grandchildren. And then the third one works at Harvard, and she travels sort of around the country. And so there's those 3. I'll tell you something fun. Every day before Christmas, the Christmas Eve day, I go to Salem to visit the 3 grandchildren.
Yeah.
And I bring envelopes of money because I'm not going to be buying them stuff. And so I bring the money, and their names are on it. And I lay the envelopes out as my daughter puts on a little luncheon. And then in order for them to get their envelope Christmas present money, they have to answer a quiz. For example, and they're each about 4 years apart. So the youngest one at the time was about 10. The boy was 14, and the oldest of them was like 18. She was a freshman at UNH. So I decided this particular time I will quote the opening line of the documents that knit the country together.
Okay.
We are held together by 2 documents, and actually more, but 2. And you were to identify them. So I said, okay. And I addressed Tom, the middle boy. I said, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. And he didn't know it. So I took his envelope away. And his father was laughing so hard he has to turn away. So then the second one, the oldest girl, I said, we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, which is the Constitution, she didn't know it. So I took hers away. And she starts saying to her mother, he ruins Christmas every year. Okay. So I turned to the third one, and she's already taken her envelope and hidden it. That's the one that's going places, that one. Okay. Anyway, so I've now forgotten your original question, but I was just...
Did you have to, did you ask her a question?
No.
Or she just took her envelope?
Okay, yeah, what did happen is as I was leaving, their father, the mother is my daughter, but their father's terrific. I gave him the envelopes. I said, they have to read the preambles before you give them the envelope.
Yeah.
And so they got their money. Okay.
Oh, fun.
That's
fun.
But I ruined Christmas every year, supposedly.
As we start to wrap up, we have a little rapid fire question, 1-word answer. You up for that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Do you have a favorite book?
I would say one of Kenneth Roberts' books, probably Rattle in Arms.
Okay. Favorite movie?
Oh, Ben-Hur.
Okay. Favorite restaurant?
That's a dangerous question. Ask somebody.
Doesn't have to be around here.
For survival's sake, I'll make it up, not around here. But I enjoyed the Grog in Newburyport.
Oh, okay. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
Coolest place you've ever been?
It's a tie. Williamsburg, Virginia versus Charleston, South Carolina.
Okay. And now you mentioned your pie. So you said blueberry.
Blueberry.
On a given day. There might be something else. What about ice cream? favorite flavor of
Well,
ice
we have
cream?
soft serve, and my favorite flavor is vanilla because that's all we offer. We have the cafe.
Yeah.
The cafe's a treasure.
Yeah.
And it's a garden cafe surrounded. It's right by the building, and we now offer sandwiches and hot dogs and soft serve ice cream and a host of desserts. Right? And the cafe's just so much fun.
Yeah.
We have our meetings with the team in the cafe.
That's so great.
We have book clubs that use our cafe.
What's your favorite part about owning a business in this area?
Well, it's interesting. You always have something to do. Always. Okay.
Well, and if I can say, we really appreciate your generosity. Anytime we've needed plants or things for events, you are so good
Sure.
to say yes. So I know that you're very community.
It's kind of an honor for us. We do the same thing for the Knot House.
Yep.
And Kristen, if you know her
Yep,
over there,
yep.
she's terrific.
Yep.
You two would be good at anything. Kristen, we do a lot of pro bono work for her,
Yeah.
but it's a great pleasure because she
Yeah.
involves herself, and they're slowly trying to piece together the
Yep.
garden that was there in the 1850s.
Yeah, yeah. You can see
Unfortunately,
some-
well, not unfortunately, but what's happened is there's been some construction on what would have been part of the garden. So we just
Yeah.
slowly getting control of it.
Yeah, yeah. So it's, yeah, so this is a great
What's that?
area. It's a great area
Oh, sure it
to
is.
be in and part of.
Yeah,
And we appreciate you.
Right.
So when does the farm open again?
April 4th, it's a Friday.
Okay.
They'll be opening. There's a lot of new products.
Yeah.
The girls, I love the fact that the girls know everybody.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's important.
yeah, you know what's interesting too is because we have this not only harmony of employees, which makes employees. I want the employees. The objective is to have them want to come to work.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
And even when we interview an employee, through the interview we've got 8 new ones coming in this year that have passed. And one of the things that I tell them is that I want them when they're 75 years old to be able to say, I worked at Wallingford. That's so much of an impression we want to, and how we want to work with them.
Okay.
And it does.
Yeah.
Okay.
So one question that I have for you is, if I buy my plants at my house, like the things for my outside. We have a nursery that's up the street from us. So I usually will go, right there in Saco. I'm sorry, I will now come to your place.
No, that's all right.
But do you keep a file on what people are purchasing, so that if I forgot that I bought a rose bush I'm not a very good gardener. I'm not a good I don't do any of that stuff.
Yeah.
My husband, he
Yeah.
I love you, but don't touch that, So, but, and I just don't have the patience for it.
Well, we do it somewhat. We don't remember the per purchase, like they bought blueberry jam and an apple pie.
Not like that, but like when they're buying things for the outside.
If you were buying something, would we remember? I'm not sure.
Okay.
We have a system where we'll know what mulch you bought, what color mulch, or what you bought for compost or so forth.
That's what I'm
recorded.
talking about.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
As to a specific color or variety of a plant, I'm not sure. The girls are pretty good at it. One thing that really, I said earlier about the harmony of employees. The other thing is the staff is required, when somebody calls in looking for something, if we don't have it, to refer them to somebody that does. We're constantly referring people to other garden centers.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, there's a very good one down the street called Esterbrook's, and we refer stuff to them all the time. And they're reciprocal. Sometimes you just don't know where something is, but they got a whole list of where different people are.
Yeah.
That we've referred people to having their houses restored. Okay, we've referred people as to where to buy a certain type of bird seed, All right. But
That's
in any
great.
case, that's required of the girls at the register, who are very good.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Are you doing anything special on your opening day? Like free coffee?
Like, pardon me?
Free coffee?
Well, that's a good idea. I know I'm going to hear about it from the staff. Okay. All right. So I know
You don't have to do that.
No,
I'm just
no,
saying, you know.
they do. They try. I love, for example, Christmas. You spoke to Tim Ames,
Yeah.
my self-appointed conscience. Okay, Tim
Love
is really,
Tim.
yeah. Tim is very, very, very good. He's great with people. He's in charge of looking at every possibility on the farm that can be converted into some kind of community event. For
Okay.
example, next Christmas, he has suggested, and we're putting together where we'll have Santa Claus,
Yeah.
and we've asked Rachel from the Joyful Noise preschool. I don't know
Right.
if you know Rachel. She's very good, very generous. If the kids come over during a hot summer and they run through the sprinkler system, which is great fun. They also have their graduation on the front lawn.
Oh.
Yeah, you see them all in caps and gowns.
Yeah.
But this year I asked Rachel if part of this Christmas festivity, which is kind of community, and
Yeah.
and there'll be Santa Claus and food and so forth, if she could have the children sing Christmas carols.
Great idea.
So, yeah, so she's agreed to it. So we'll have that all the same day where these 4 to 6 year olds will sing
That
Christmas
is so
carols.
awesome.
Yeah, she even said, "Do you have a favorite?" I said, "Well, I'd like them to end with my favorite." "Well, what's that?" I said, "Over the Rainbow." "But that's not a Christmas carol." "You asked me what." Okay. Right.
Well, keep us posted on that because
Okay.
that sounds like a really great event.
Well, people can
So-
sign up for our emails.
Yeah.
We keep people posted.
And where would they do that? Is it on
Right
your
at
website?
the store. They can all sign up online, but also
Okay.
at the store. The girls will ask them, "Are you on our email list?"
Yeah,
and so forth.
that's so great.
I have had a lot of fun with this. Okay.
Thank you so much for
You're
being our
welcome.
guest.
Okay.
And we can't wait to get over there once you start, once you crank up again for the summer.
What I'd like people to do is come and say hi to me. I know most of them.
Okay.
Okay. But I'm around.
I
usually.
definitely will.
Yes. Sometimes it benefits you. Okay.
Thank you so much,
You're
and good
welcome.
luck. Good luck this year.
Yeah, and I expect to see you there.
Okay. Well, I'm going to have plenty of time. So.
All right. Okay.
Thank you, Charles.
You're welcome, and thank you.
And thank you all for being with us tonight. And thanks to our producer, Mike Kelly. We always appreciate you. And we hope to see you all right here next time for another episode of What's Your Story?